After a quick bit of motivation, we're back on the B stream with round number 2, fellow. I'm really excited about this next matchup. I'm wondering how you're feeling about this.
Yeah, we've got X13 versus Homeland here for the SFCL stream, but we can also take a look to see what our sister stream are actually going to be up and running for round number 2. You've got Riz Academy versus Above the Law for Nerd Street R6, the primary channel here for SCS Season 7 quals, and Super Stream is Reality TV versus Deprived. Not gonna lie, I might try to catch that one if our game ends a little bit earlier, because that game does look pretty fun on paper. Just to see Reality TV, hug it out, the top T2 team now playing instead of SCS Season 7 to see if they can also hashtag make history. That one, I'm sure, is going to be really fun. But this game as well is going to be pretty good. You've got a top T3 team that did pretty well in the past season for, Xenon. Well, the season before that, the season I know Xenon well for, where they beat my team. And then you've got X13 who have went through a bit of a facelift as well with their new rosters, which we'll take a look at right now. For Homeland, you've got Owen, Loof, Sniper, Rival, and Zez. And X13, you've got Teku, Jake, Shiesty, Hitman, Bless, and Riven.
I mean, Homeland's just kind of similar storyline to last game, where both of these teams, one of these teams is looking to try to repeat their same success from last qualifier, make it back, hopefully have a little bit better success when they get there. Next 13 really just need to connect a little bit more wins together, because honestly, they went 3-5 last qual. I don't believe they even played all of them. So unfortunately, they just need to make sure they have a good start. And going against Homeland is going to be a really tough matchup.
So a good baseline match to start out the first day of Qual 2, because both these teams have gone a pretty fair distance, and maybe if X13 had a little more time on their hands, they could have maybe continued the rest of qualifier number 1 to have made it to those qualifiers. Definitely some good story potential building up here for this open qualifier, but we've got the map bans to now discuss as well to see where we're going in this best of 1. And it seems like both teams have a pretty good read as to, each other's comfort maps. You've got Cafe instantly banned and then Skyscraper to follow suit. Yeah, these are just typical Homeland maps if I've ever seen them. And then you've got the default selections here by Homeland as well. Oregon being removed. A lot of teams are strong on Oregon, period. It's just a good map for a best of 1 format. And this eventually leads us all the way down to Theme Park, which I haven't seen Homeland or X13 play in a hot minute, but if I recall correctly, this is not a bad map.
Well, at least based off my stats that I've collected in the past, I haven't been keeping up with Homeland too well, but this is one of Homeland's favorite maps. I believe they have a pretty good win rate on this. And interesting to note is that X13 normally permaban this along with 2 other maps of, I believe, Clubhouse and Bank. So this is their 3rd permaban, so it's interesting that they let this one through. So we're just gonna have to see if maybe they have a little bit more time to prep on this. Maybe they have a good read on, oh wait, Homeland may be doing this a little bit too often, so maybe it's a good read for counterban potential, but not really sure. This is just very interesting map ban phase.
And it could be also just picking between the lesser of certain evils, because clearly X13 know Homeland very well and what maps they're good at, because they banned Cafe, Skyscraper, Villa, and then Border. Those are all maps Homeland are really good on. I recall Homeland, vividly a few seasons ago for Xenon, they were like one of the best teams to ever do it on Border at that time. So it's just in general, it seemed like the ban phase might have been just stretching X13 a little too thin, or like you mentioned, they've done a little more prep on Theme Park. I'm hoping it's the latter, because this is a really good map put in the right hands, because how much you can accomplish not only on that defensive side, but also the offensive half. If you're a very decisive team, you have good time management, and you understand just the defaults of how this map is going to be played on your opponent's half. And off the rip, you've got some of those quote unquote default bans, more specifically the Nook, to help enable some of those roamers and not have to deal with any kind of lurking pressure when you're on the defensive half. And then you've got a Flores as well. Funny enough, pretty similar to what we saw last game, round number 1 in this stream.
I mean, in a sense, they kind of play out a little similarly. The maps don't play out very similarly, but you do have to do a lot of good util clear and make sure you control the roam essentially and make sure that they can't make it back to site effectively. It's kind of the only similarity between Theme Park and Chalet, I would say. But honestly, kind of like you mentioned, just very default bans so far. Mira and Valk are wrap ups for that. So nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. So in that sense, we're still seeing a little bit of the same and nothing crazy coming out of X13. So I'm still wondering what they have in store for us.
Yeah, the only difference from last game was that we actually had Mira in play. There was a different operator actually banned. I would remember if I had wrote down all the operator bans last game, but I honestly could not be bothered to do so. Anyway, at least I wrote
Hmm.
down all the 4 bans for this game. That's what really matters. That's what chat seems to care about since we're in the
It was
now
a
and
zombie.
not the past. Oh, it was a zombie. Thank you,
Yes.
Cade. Saving my life. I
I
appreciate
I
that.
take notes.
You got me.
Note that down, ladies and
Thankfully,
gentlemen.
someone's writing down notes in the casting booth because I guess that's not me today. But maybe we'll fix that mistake heading into game number 2. Starting out with a throne and armory defense. For X13 looking to expect a cash and over clear by Homeland, as the way they have their shield set up as of right now, they've got one in waiting room looking down that main waiting hallway if anyone wants to start from the cache side of the map. And they did have one potentially being prepped over by the initiation room as well, but I believe that's now been moved elsewhere. They do have a shield placed up in the bomb site itself, and like I mentioned earlier, we just saw one over by a waiting room. And interesting enough, Floof has gone off of the Ying and onto a more standard pick of the Thatcher, but definitely not a bad option.
I mean, they do have to still get the wall open somehow. Just being able to take that Thatcher is going to make sure you can do so. But we do see Jake Shiesty getting very aggressive early on, trying to see if he can get a pick onto one of the players of Homeland. Was not successful. In fact, he took more damage than he dealt. So, already in that sense, it's not looking good, but kind of a default lineup coming out from X13. Nothing really too surprising, so Homeland should be able to get a good read onto this and just really be able to counter it pretty well, and hopefully they get a good idea of where Hitman is.
Snipey the opening kill onto the player who was running out just a moment ago on the Jaeger. Snipey now good for 2 as he gets sort of buck as well. So a really good start so far for Homeland on this attacking clear. Hitman trying to play up the top of Dragon Stairs. Also love the little name change as well. Silly little Hitman. Never gets old. Almost able to work a kill there for his team, but just not quite able to connect those shots. And Snipey now racks up a triple kill on the Ash roll as this maintenance wall gets opened up. And Homeland, they don't really have a lot stopping them from just hitting the execute button and just hopping in the site to try to get this plant down, except for these toxic bays. But now there's only 2 left in the pocket of Teku. You've got 1 kill going the way for Hitman, but he's quickly traded back by Zez, still wielding that AK-12. And now that leaves just Teku in a 1v4. Sure, he's got the toxic babes, but he doesn't really have a lot of players to help assist him besides that. So Snipey finding a quadra kill for this round will end out Homeland with a high note for round 1.
That round went by so fast, I don't even know that we got to the halfway mark. Honestly, Homeland just kind of dismantled the entire defensive setup from X13 right from the get-go. It's just like, all right, we have our standard run out. Counter that pretty well. We have people up above. Counter that pretty well. It's just, aside from the 1 kill, that was pretty much a flawless round for Homeland. And honestly, just not really seeing anything too surprising coming out from X13 at the moment that's just making me go like, wow, you did your homework on this map. And just taking Homeland to this map, clearly a big favorite of theirs. They know this map very well, so I'm just very curious to see if they can maybe do a little bit better in these next couple rounds, because that honestly did not impress me very much.
It seemed like X13 were, expecting what Homeland were going to do, but it just seemed like they did get punished for trying to overextend a bit on some of those positions. Jake, for example, he did not die from the run out, but as he was retreating, did get shut down. Homeland with that opening kill, and they were still able to isolate fairly well against that roam extension by X13, so maybe just playing a bit more towards arm's length, and again, expecting that kind of aggression that Homeland have been known to bring out in their past couple of games. That could be the remedy for success, especially since they're starting basically the exact same extension as they are defending Bunk this time around. You've got 1 attacker, that being, I believe it was Raki playing underneath on the Ayana. Yes, that's been confirmed now as well. We just saw the silhouette of him a couple seconds ago. The rest of Homeland doing, once again, the cache over clear. Nothing really to speak of as of now, just gathering some info, making sure that they know where X13 are properly setting up for this roam play and to see what kind of map control they can get off the rip.
I mean, it's just going to be a matter of, can they really stall out Homeland on this initial clear? Because really just need to make sure they don't have a lot of momentum going into their execute, because if you let them have too much room, they're going to take a mile with that and probably even more. So it's just going to be up to players like Jake Shiesty here, just making sure that he can stall out this control push and just make sure they don't lose his life in the process.
Minute 50 still remains here for Homeland. A couple EMPs being tossed out as well, just to break a bit of utility here on the side of X13. Some info potentially being gathered up as well, so Homeland know how exactly to attack for this position held over by both Initiation and Office. But it seems like a majority of that roam extension has actually now fallen off. They haven't reinforced the rotate. They're still trying to play off it a little more aggressively, but they have fallen back towards the site proper. Floof does find the opening kill, but Buck is at least there to trade onto Snipey Poo. And Zez losing a bit of HP, but still alive. No one's located Teku, though, who is still just in the small corner by Offices. And Jake as well on the response gets rid of Raki. Now Homeland on the back foot.
Well, they did such a good job in just slowing down the pace of Homeland and just making them have to essentially face check everything, because I don't know if many drones they have left. They only have 5 left in pocket, so it's a bit curious that Homeland didn't do their due diligence in clearing out some of these positions. Now we're seeing drones coming out, but it's a little bit too late, as now a 2v4 and you didn't do it before, so unfortunately just need to do a little bit better, make sure you find out where those players are.
Still time to maybe work some of those 1-for-1s, but again, that info game you talked about, if that is lacking, could make it a bit more difficult to actually find some of those 1-for-1s that can be isolated. There is a bit of info on the guy playing by yellow, but not able to still confirm that kill. Zez has been dropped down by that 416 carbine, leaving just Rival in a 1vx, and he is not soon to follow past that. X13 doing a significantly better job at taking those 1-for-1s and also knowing when to be aggressive and when to actually fall back, instead forcing the hand of Homeland on their attacks.
Well, I think they kind of just did listen to you a little bit, just make sure they stay within arm's length, able to play off each other and just deny a lot of the information and just generally slow down the pace of Homeland, because we saw a very quick and very fast Homeland the first round. That time we saw a very slow, very methodical, trying to make sure they don't make any mistakes Homeland. And that kind of just really aided X13 in just being able to fall back, not really having to overextend too much, which is something we kind of saw in that first round. But now they were able to fix that mistake and was able to convert that into a round win.
Say definitely a lot better, reservation by X13 when playing on that extension, actually using their utility to their advantage rather than just trying to take these gunfights while being a bit overexposed to the line of fire from Homeland. Now opting to go to the sister bomb site of Bunk and Daycare, that being Office and Initiation, where they're just going to flip their extension right around and focus a little bit more towards the cafe side and arcade position of the map too. Sometimes you can see maybe a couple of teams opting to enter in from break room from those window rappels, but it can be a little bit on the dangerous side. However, I did talk about the cafe part of the map briefly. You can start out from that balcony position and just kind of work your way in the building from there. And since Homeland have all the hard breach and, assistant utility to help those Soma charges detonate properly against mute jammers or whatever could be available for X13, they are not going to have a lot of problems getting some of those back walls opened up to properly enter in from the bomb site. But so far for Homeland, they're opting to do the other approach that you tend to see when attacking Office and Initiation, and that's doing just another cache overtake. But they do have somebody on alert to begin their way from the cafe side of the map, so they're not just focusing on one portion of the map.
Yeah, it's just going to be up to X13 to make sure they don't focus all of their attention onto the cache side. And Jake nearly gets a pick onto Snipey, just able to get that shield very thankfully, but if Floofs is able to go undetected, he could have a big flank later on. But right now, once again, we're seeing a very slow pace coming out from Homeland, trying to clear out all this utility. And Snipey actually goes down to a Frostmat atop Dragon. Just unfortunately, not enough info, but Zez is able to make up for it. And thankfully, Snipey is able to get picked back up.
Say, technically the opening kill. Favoring Homeland this time, Hitman might be finally aware someone's entered in from Dragon, works the first trade for his team. Not able to find Snipey just yet, but still looking for more damage, and he gets it. The low HP player of the Ash will be dropped, and thankfully Rival is there for another direct trade. But 2 kills for 1 is definitely a fair deal here for Hitman, since he's already done a lot of his job in terms of util deployment. He's got that passive utility of the Banshee, so just going gun up when needed to, definitely the right call, especially when you lose out on some of your range soft breach to help get rid of those deployable shields, and losing out on your set of grenades in the hands of Raki as well. Definitely 2 kills well worth for Hitman's life.
Well, minute left on the board, and now a lot of that pressure that was initially putting up by Homeland is now gone, so now it's going to be a lot tougher to make their way into it. Looks like possibly an office execute. Just seems like they're trying to drone everybody out, but Floofs gets a nice shot onto Teku and gets another onto Buck. It's all up to Bless in a 1v3, and he's on such low HP, and they know exactly where he is. is able to get one kill onto Floofs, but unfortunately, he still has to deal with two more players, and they know exactly where he is. But it's just going to be a matter of can he get this single 1v1? He's able to get it, and now Zez is in a 1v1, not able to get that plant down with 30 seconds left. It's going to have to be if he can get enough intel to find out where he is.
Ooh, trying to stick down this post plant, having natural cover of that pillar. Gonna really force the hand of Bless in this 1v1 retake, so low on HP as well, but still having plenty of time to work with. 40 seconds on that timer. Here comes the swing by Zez. Bless is able to react in time, but not confirm that kill. Another drone dropped out too. Still plenty of info to work off of here for Homeland as that timer continues to wither away. Good rotate by Zez. This might catch Bless off guard. He might not have any clue about this, but it seems like he heard the transition now by the ace. He gets a bit closer towards that diffuser, trying to bait it on that disable. Currently trying to stick it for the time being, but still has plenty of seconds to get off it and maybe take this gunfight. He tries to stick it, gets off it at the last second, and Zez is there to greet him with the AK-12, and Homeland now take their second round win the first half.
That was such a close round. Honestly, a lot closer than it probably should have been, but Floof's able to get enough pressure over into initiation, just made sure that they could actually now facilitate that rotate to try to get that bomb down, because Bless was doing such a good job of holding down Office by himself. And honestly, a really good attempt at a clutch from him, able to hit some really nice shots onto these players. And just unfortunately, didn't quite have the perfect read onto where he had rotated out after that plant went down, and unfortunately was not able to finish out that clutch in just another round for Homeland, but really good for X13 to try to keep it at least somewhat close.
Say, Blessed having a pretty good job at able to find those one-for-one confrontations and still have a pretty good read as to how he should try to close that gap in a 1v1. It can be pretty difficult when you're on such little HP to play off of natural cover while still actually closing a gap to get into the opposing bomb site and maybe get that disable down. He did play fairly well, having loads of info and just good game sense to try to react as to how Zez was wanting to play in that 1v1, but still just not enough since the timer was always against him once that diffuser had been put down on the ground properly. And Homeland now going to have to face another armory and throne defense by X13, albeit the last time they saw this site in play, they mopped the floor with X13 bodies because they were just surgical when it came to entering the building, finding those entries, and still getting in the bomb site with a very quick amount of time used up as well. They spent little to no time getting in there.
I mean, it seems that X13 has kind of tried to adapt and just slow down the pace of the rounds overall. And so that's something that's really been going their way, but just unfortunately, 2 rounds still going the way of Homeland is not something you really need to see. But they it does seem that Homeland is going for a very similar take, so maybe they will read into this, not over-aggress too much. Hitman's trying to see if he can get a C4. Tekko gets the first kill onto Zez. A little bit of better progress so far, but is it going to be enough? Because that armory wall is already open.
Oh, might not really matter because, wow, Hitman through the wall gets a second one as well. That position by Dragon just simply not taken care of from the top floor, as not enough map control was really gained by Homeland in this round. They were just hard focused on getting that maintenance wall opened up, and sure, they did the job there, but they didn't find any kills to follow it up, besides Hitman, who was just in the middle of Dragon, and he already found 2 kills before being dropped dead, so not big of a concern, really, for the roaming mute. He had most certainly done his job, but Raki now in the bomb site, maybe looking to catch somebody off guard, just play for coverage as Floof might try to enter as well and stick that defuser to the ground. But it is a lot of positions that this one sledge has to look forward to, and finally ripped to shreds by that P10 Roni. He'll be put in the dirt as well, leaving only Floof in a 1v3. Sure, we saw Bless almost come back from the same position, but Floof is so low on HP and can only enter in from one portion on the map. His fate was set in stone, it seemed. Homeland not able to make it 3. Things get tied back up once again, heading in around 5.
Well, just on top of like some really nice shots from the players of X13, just very same take from Homeland. And so just X13 just realized, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix that. We just need to slow down the pace of Homeland at the moment. And just since they didn't change anything up, they just had a perfect read onto what was going to happen, and they all funneled into one area and just got all the kills. That's all they needed to do. And just, Homeland had a really good start, but that round just did not go your way at all. And unfortunately, just Raki had to deal with 4 players going in from split, so he could not do anything. He tried to provide some cover for Floos to move his way onto the bomb site, but at that point, all the guns are trained on you. They only have a certain way to go, and that's just a round done for X13.
And how they were able to adapt as well was a pretty good idea on paper. Like you mentioned, X13 were anticipating that same play because Homeland just did it to them back in round number 1. So they set up multiple different pressure points to where they can kill the people in maintenance. You again saw Hitman playing by Lower Dragon, having a C4 position set up in case someone's playing in that back area. And you had someone getting aggressive on the swing by maintenance as well. Process of elimination with Hitman, not finding a kill at that C4, you're expecting someone to maybe be a little bit closer towards that breach, maybe by the Dragon door instead, and they cannot enter on Dragon since that barricade is placed, so that did allow Teku to find that opening kill quite easily. Hitman's there in the response to make sure no one can, move outside of maintenance or even that gong room area as well. And after that, as well, the aggression by X13, playing by Top Dragon, making sure that they weren't going to, just wide swing anything very, nonchalantly, but instead just waiting for Homeland to make that first move. It made a hell of a difference. And off the bat, you've got Jake winning that first altercation against Zez. Did they just 1-for-1 trade? Did Zez technically get that kill against Jake? I'm not quite sure, but either way, that's your hard breach, and your only hard breacher at that, gone. And again, we talk about passive and active utility. Jake already put down his frost mats and a bulletproof camera. If that's what he brought out for this round, he actually didn't do that. So it's not really a big deal. And speaking of frost mats, it nets another kill for X13 as well, comically.
Well, Jake having such a big impact in the round, even when he's dead. So unfortunately, it's now a 4v3 for the side of X13. And now, Teku able to get picked back up. He's now going to have his gun up and another bit of passive utility. And because of the fact that Ace is now dead, and Rival's also dead, now the Thatcher and the Ace are gone. And so now you have no way to really clear any of these positions from Homeland, for X13, sorry. And now, this is, again, just another round that should be a really decisive X13 win, unless something crazy goes down from Homeland.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they have a lot of brute force potential, that being Homeland, so they would once again have to hope that they maybe have info if someone's isolated, which they've got no info. Snipey and Raki have no drones available to them, except if there's one like across the map watching their flank, perhaps. Good transition there by Raki to play by the rotate and catch just a sliver of Bless's head. Still 3 versus 2, and now 1v3 as Bucktal just swings past that little bunk doorway and eliminates Snipey. There's Teku still playing by the cafe double door off of that shield that no one can end up destroying there. And X13 once again take the lead, I guess just playing disciplined siege. There's really no other way to say it. Sure, they get aggressive in certain positions, but besides, like those first opening gunfights here and there, they do play a lot more lackadaisical, it seems.
Well, just seeing aside from that first round where Homeland just really took the control they needed to very fast, everything has just been very slow, very methodical from both of these teams. And clearly X13 can play that more methodical game of Siege a lot better. So just really, Homeland just need to do a little bit more of their due diligence, make sure they can clear out some of these positions properly, get the proper info onto these players of X13, because clearly, if you don't get the info they need, X13 will just punish that and just swing out onto you in that little bit of aggression coming out from them, which is clearly just a matter of, okay, I haven't been droned out yet, I can move up here, and I can just kill everyone else. That's just, you need to do a better job in the info game to make sure that those plays cannot happen.
You mentioned the info. Definitely has to go along with the, I wouldn't say a lack of team play by Homeland, but the fact that X13 have been playing off of each other's positions significantly better than Homeland so far in this first half. You had round 1 where Snipey was just going beast mode. Simply put it, that's where he found his quad kill, his only kill so far in this matchup, but I'm sure they can change. Snipey's a pretty good player. He finds his quad kill in round 1, and then you go to round number 3 as well, where it's just a lot of, aggression off the rip. And then a bit of team play, sprinkled in here and there. It just seems like for X13, they all make the same fallback, give or take. When you have Homeland putting in a bit of aggression, they're all holding their default positions, knowing how to swing off each other, playing for contact, it seems, just to make sure that Homeland can't really repeat that same kind of aggression that they had all the way back in round number 1. You've mentioned how methodical Homeland have now been forced to play because of X13 and their seemingness, I guess they're just willingness to be so passive, put in the right positions. It has put Homeland in a bit of a stump so far in some of these rounds for the first half. And once again, it looks like we're just back on that kind of game of passivity here for Homeland, as they're just trying to look for this first opening kill, doing this cash overtake, and so far no one's been there to really want to engage on them. So it's just a bit of a stalemate until someone maybe wants to peek, Zez, for example, who's just holding that dastardly angle to DMR.
I mean, bullets are being traded out at each other, and Rival is starting to open up the cash wall to Office. So Buck Tull is going to have to try to hold on to this a little bit more actively. Otherwise, they're just going to be able to have a good avenue into the bomb site. Now, do they have the proper info that he's over here? Zez, with the Dokkaebi, is able to make a call to really get a good idea of where those players are. Not exactly sure where they are, but they do have a general idea now. And it looks like probably Flus in a second is going to be using his Yinkendels to try to flash into sight to give them a good, portion to try to facilitate this execute.
Just trying to make that space as well as they can, really. Hitman almost spotting the head of one as they were just creeping their way from bathroom, but unable to spot that out just yet. Still an opening kill for X13, though. Jake, who's been pretty hot with his weapon so far, gets that first kill onto Floof, the Ying out of all people, so that space-making ability is down the drain, and the rest of Homeland soon to fall off, but there's Raki with one good kill, swiftly traded back, though, by Hitman, leaving only Zez now in a 1 versus 2. The final logic bomb now deployed, hopefully able to give some last info for the final hurrah here for that Dokkaebi as they creep their way across into waiting room. Looking to spot out that first player, kills the guy yellow. Ooh. A triple kill for Zez. Could just spot out one more, but can't do it in time against Jake. He had the info, he was in the right place, but couldn't shoot the trigger in time. And there it is. X13, 4-2 split heading into round 7.
I mean, just the general team play of X13 is just really coming out on top in just these more passive rounds where it's just a little slow, just early round play. Early mid to round has honestly just been so slow, aside from the first round. And that's just been putting X13 in the favor for most of it. And just the refrags are just not coming out for Homeland. It just seems to be really on top for X13 because as soon as one of their players dies, there's another player ready to refrag them almost instantly. And that just kind of comes down to their defensive setups because everyone from Homeland at that point had to funnel in because they didn't really take a whole lot of control. Because you're going direct, there's only so many angles for the defense to look at. So at that point, even though it came down to a 1v1, it was just really X13 just had all the better information because they know exactly where that Dokkaebi is in that final kill.
And that's why it's usually good to have someone maybe, lurking on that first floor example, like we saw Homeland do pretty frequently from rounds 1 to 3. So then they can maybe go from a different point of the map to just create extra pressure, get somebody up yellow stairs if they have info, if there's a guy there, work some sort of gunfight. And now a couple of eyes are now focused towards yellow on top of having a potential man advantage. It adds more variety and diversity to your attack to make it more challenging for X13 to, be forced away off those 2 choke points of control and more specifically bathroom heading in from the cache side of the map. Snipey attempting to run out, the melee was a bit botched, so he had to give away his intentions a little too late, and at that point, X13 were anticipating the hop out from cache, so it's unfortunately an opening death for Homeland, but Raki, expecting someone to, kind of forget about anyone playing near cache as they just found a kill there, it's gonna net a refrag onto Jake. Not the worst thing for the most part, but the fact that your Warden died and there's a Ying on the board, it's definitely a bit concerning because now really no operator counters her unless they forget to burn the ADS.
Well, like you mentioned, just now that Warden's dead, so it's just going to have to really be up to the rest of Homeland to try to stall them out for as long as they can, so that quick execute cannot really happen. But really creative use of these Thatcher EMPs trying to get rid of all that utility so Hitman can actually nade out the shield is going to really open up top Dragon, and now Homeland is having to fall back so fast because of that Ying pressure now all of a sudden. Now, everyone from Homeland is basically evacuated, and now X13 has nothing to really show for it, but they do have a lot more control now.
They have that fall off like you had mentioned, but still the other half of the top floor to work for here with Homeland, and they have already burned about half of the round as well. So if they can deny a majority of that vertical or just try to play for a bit of a retake, shouldn't be too big of a concern for the defense for the most part. Another drone comes flying by. That might give Floof the eventual call just to fall away, and he'll do so at just the right time. Not fully giving up yellow just yet, really trying to see if he can pinch off some sort of kill before he eventually retreats back to the bomb site or goes on a first floor lurk instead for that defense. So not going to be completely passive here. Still just be a bit more on the aggressive half, but X13 expecting some of that roaming prowess to be alive on this top floor. They're going to want to double bat, but they didn't fully clear out yellow stairs. Floof could still be lying in wait and might just pay off for that patience too. If he can net some sort of kill in these final 40 seconds, that would be massive for Homeland. But I think he just now got droned away, so he'll fall off.
Yeah, but Rival's also there for a possible late flank. Now actually Buck Tall, I believe, doesn't have any Yinkendels left, so this execute is going to be a lot slower. It's just going to have to be really up to Teku trying to see if he can smoke off some of these angles to make sure that none of the long angles are there for Homeland. Rival, again, just really prepped for this late flank, and Zez just shuts down Teku on the initial swing, and this is already just going disastrous on this initial execute. And it's already a 3v1.
Yeah, there's Zez and another with that Mossberg. You mentioned it perfectly, Cade, that it was so slow by X13 to force away those roamers. They had no time to set up any meaningful vertical. They had no time to get the yellow wall opened up. So they had two main entryways they could get into the building, or at least the bomb site, sorry. And that was from the back throne wall that they just opened up for maintenance and Dragon Door. And when you've got someone holding a long angle on the Dragon doorway and another one playing close by that double wall that was just opened up with a shotgun, you've got both angles covered. And like you mentioned as well, there was no main operator that could make a lot of space to let X13 safely enter the building as well from those very limited options on the map, because all those Candelas were used to force away the roamers that didn't even fully give up that top floor. They were still lingering there with about a minute to 50 seconds on the round. They just then had to fall off as they realized how much they had already done on their job. That was a fantastic roam extension by Homeland. Not because they were able to, trade one of the two sets of grenade players, but just because how much they wasted on that timer and how much that limited X13 when they wanted to execute.
Well, I mean, even like if Teku used some of the smoke grenades to cut off some of those long lines of sight, Zez was still super close on the main breach that he could just swing out with a shotgun and just play his life because he hadn't been cleared out. It was just essentially free kills for him as everyone just had to funnel into him. And then it's just like lack of like proper roam clear and not really getting a whole lot of control. Opening up the main wall with 50 seconds left just does not spell for a good round for you. And now it's just seems like they're going to need to kind of do a little bit faster in these next couple rounds.
Saying the unfortunate thing too is Ying can be a pretty effective operator as well to maybe speed up that execute, or in general just speed up that time management. Unfortunately, it just was a lot of the map they had to worry about, that the Ying Candles weren't even enough. Maybe again having someone go in on that potential lurk on a map like Theme Park can be really effective, just to make sure you can get a little more value out of those roam clears and not just waste a lot of your own time and general resources of that utility. Seems like for X13, they want to nip this roam facet off the board as quickly as they can, as Buck Tall is going to spring into action, already finds that kill onto Zez, and Snipey is now being pincered away and forced down the yellow stairs. Thankfully, the hatch wasn't fully opened up, though, and he actually kills the guy dropping down the hatch as the ace has been fallen through. Rival as well, still playing by daycare, gets a kill onto Buck Tall, but luckily it's a direct one-for-one trade, so Homeland will still have that man advantage for the time being. X13, once again, not having the best of roam clears, but it definitely looks a little bit better than it was last round.
I mean, it was slightly better. They had a good pinch onto some of these players, but then all of a sudden Homeland just decided, you know what? I'm going to hit my shots. I'm not going to let you do that. Teku just immediately gets shut down, and now that's the ace off the board. Not really that important for this bomb site in particular, but still not great to see that your hard breach is now gone. But being left as Jake Shiesty and Bless, Thatcher with 2 EMP grenades and 1 grenade left in pocket, and drones on the other side of the map is just going to make this have to take so much longer, as now it's going to be up to really Bless to try to create some of the space in the bomb site.
Hopefully working 1 kill perhaps at least on that vertical coverage too. Really tip the hat in the favor of X13. That would leave only 1 person on the bomb site, maybe forcing Snipey to go for a bit of a retake that he's not expecting, but he's not too far away from the bomb site, just playing a couple of, couple feet away, so it seems, and He is holding a pretty important part of the map as well. A lot of long angles he can wield with that 416 to make sure X13 can't just simply walk in the bomb site for free. I think the only position he really can't cover that isn't an external angle from, outside of the building is potentially that back position by Bathroom, but the smoke's covering that quite well. Raki expects the hop up from Jake Shiesty. He shuts him down with the MX4 Storm, and a second is found as well in basically the exact same position, having plenty of info and having the right time to swing. Homeland, I believe, now tie us up heading around number 9. Yes, they do, after having some really effective roam matches so far.
Well, I mean, X13 had a good read onto the roam setup from Homeland, but unfortunately, it was either lack of timing, just miscommunications, because like we saw Teku try to drop down the yellow hatch and immediately kill Snipey as he was falling back. Unfortunately, Snipey just hit a really good shot onto him, and then it just seemed like the rest of X13 just kind of fumbled on what to do because they just lost all the rest of the gunfights. Granted, they got the last player of the Frost in essentially a trade, so that now that pressure is gone, but you lost so many bodies trying to do that when you were looking poised to like take it pretty handedly, and just unfortunately, round that maybe should have gone your way on the initial clear, just all of a sudden went all the way to Homeland.
Say if the timing or maybe some of that coordination was a little bit more effective, I'm sure X13 would have probably had a full clear on that roam extension done by Homeland, maybe losing still a body or two, but probably coming out on top with some sort of advantage there. At least the adaptability is growing by X13, and with them only needing, 3-round wins, give or take, on their attack, then all things considered, they continue that gradual line of improvement. They should be looking to maybe get a round win or two in the next couple of moments. Homeland's trying to ramp up this aggression, up the ante, it seems, for Snipey, but it's not going to work out against someone like Hitman. He immediately slaps that out of the hand of Snipey. He's forced on camera duty for round number 9, as you've got X13 in under 30 seconds scoring that opening gunfight as a success, and now they're looking to just pay dividends off that forward momentum. They're not wasting a single second of it, trying to get in from both cash and control, while Homeland looking to readjust.
Well, I can't say that I've ever seen that hop out in my life, but now I have, and it immediately did not work. So unfortunately, already Homeland are down 4v5. Not going to be the biggest deal because they can still bring it back, but right now already losing that one man with really good gun all as well. It's just going to make this a little bit tougher to hold on to, but they're doing a really good job of trying to hold on to this as we lose all vision. We're just mute.
What is
please.
this bug? It's a drone bug. It's not even mute.
Stop tapping our feeds. There we go. We're back. We have vision.
It was just a drone being shot.
What just happened? I don't even know, fella. You take it over.
Yeah, well, thank you, Priyank, for still being able to catch that kill. I am flabbergasted. God, I hope we never see that again. That was just ridiculously dumb, seeing that glitch happen. At least Homeland find the trade somehow. But now you've got these Kibas thrown into the mix that seem to be forcing another funnel for X13, as you've got Toxic Babes as well to keep them away from this control position. Zez looking to take a gunfight, but it's not going to win that first altercation. So they rotate around and almost kill Teku as well. There's a grenade for that Kiba barrier that almost broke the Kiba-wielding operator, but Zez is able to evade it and still be alive for now. Hitman looking to also close the gap, pushing in from catch, but they're just shot in the side by Rival wielding that SMG-11. Homeland now able to take the main advantage and still keep X13 in these 2 choke points. No one's able to rotate. Bless has been injured as well, so we're in a 2 versus 4. Now a 3v1, and Teku is the one to be alive as the last man standing, and he was already tagged up from a previous engagement, so it's quick work done by Homeland to once again just return the favor that X13 were able to do on their side of the defensive half.
Although I know I'm supposed to be the color commentator, but I'm gonna be honest. I had a Google Slides show for like that last half of the round, so I could barely see anything outside of a few pictures.
You didn't miss much. You
I
really
didn't. Okay.
No.
That's good to know. Good to know.
You think about the complaints we had for Homeland on their attack for Theme Park, you flip the teams. You just do that. Because for both X13 and Homeland, they really did struggle with trying to have these external lurks work on a map like Theme Park. Although you have the Nook Band, who is the best operator to go on those solo lurks, you can get rid of the operator, but you do not get rid of the play style. if you have someone, you know, start out from across the map, maybe working around towards Cafe, for example, since you especially had someone like Hitman starting out from that part of the map, killing the guy trying to hop out. I think that was Snipey on the alibi last round. You have that happen. Get somebody over by Cafe, maybe get someone over towards Yellow Stairs once again. If they just drone themselves up, get in that position, maybe take a gunfight. It gives the rest of your teammates more room to get past those two choke points of control room and cash heading into bathroom/offices. So if we have X13 just continue to funnel in these same two positions, it's going to just give more leeway for Homeland to just win these gunfights and then probably take the game as well, since they now brought back the advantage.
You know, what do you even need me for? You can just do play-by-play in color all by yourself. I mean, what am I even here for?
The play-by-play by me is pretty mid, I'm not gonna lie. So you might need to get a rain check on that one.
I don't know about that. You're doing just fine. But besides that, we're seeing just again another pretty aggressive roam setup from Homeland, with Snipey just trying to get aggressive onto this cash doorway, trading some shots. I actually can't see anything else right now, so I'm just gonna have to throw it to my co-commentator.
Fair enough. Just missed out on Jake Shiesty finding a good spray onto Snipey, once again being an opening death for Homeland, but we did see the same thing happen last time Throne was in play, and then by some way, Homeland expect, you know what, they're not going to expect another guy peeking cash door, let's just go swing and get a refrag, and then Jake died. A little bit upset about that. This time it won't happen. Oh, just kidding! Ooh. I jinxed Jake, my fault, King. Zez pops out a C4 from the floor beneath them and blows up the Iana, so now it's the exact same position that we saw last time for Homeland, except now they've got an advantage because Zed's just straight up crip walked up Dragon Stairs and killed Hitman. Now there's no vertical or grenades.
I mean, they do still have the Ying with more Candels left, not using them to clear out the roam clear, but honestly, the roam clear was so disastrous for this round. Fortunately, everyone is able to get back, and Zez just went absolutely huge in this round, able to pick up 2 crucial kills, like you just highlighted. And now, unfortunately, X13 is just going to have to slow down once more. And just like, I don't know one for them right now.
I'm not really too sure either. 2 major players lost. Not a lot of time left as well to start up this execute. They still get this back wall opened up, leading into Throne from maintenance, but it seems to be a bit of deja vu. The only difference now is, like you mentioned, the Ying is alive, and they have all 4 of their Candelas to work with, so space can be made. There's Bucktal with a good kill onto Floof, a well-needed one of that too, and Zez gets eliminated by Teku as he tries to play behind the Throne itself, proning underneath that half wall, but is not able to fall all the way through in time. Here's now Raki to play that position that the mute was a moment ago. 2 quick kills for him as well, leaving just Bucktal with 4 Candles in their back pocket. Still use your utility, brother. You gotta get in there. He goes for the first spray onto the alibi, but currently just cannot hit a shot as they're playing off this natural cover so well. And as the Ying tries to close the gap, they're met by the Bailiff. Homeland take match point.
Oh, man. Just anything that X13 was doing so well in that round, just immediately taken away by Homeland. You got first good kill onto Snipey. The Warden, once again, did the same thing last time. And unfortunately, just again, you're clear. Just did nothing. You did not do anything to like substantially get any of those players. And then even when you got into the site, you just didn't do anything to use the leftover util you had left in pocket to actually facilitate an opening into the bomb site. And now that player can just sit behind the Throne all he wants. Like you mentioned, just natural cover. Essentially, is just a half shield for him, and he can just sit there all he wants. And right now, X13, there's just not a whole lot of adaptation from their end.
The night and day comparison of just using all your Candelas for the roam last time and not having that work whatsoever, to then saving your Candelas for what it seems to be next round, just can't make that up. I think if Buck was in a better spot to use those Candelas, like maybe if they were the one playing over by maintenance, for example, off the bat of that position, or just using their Candelas for Dragon Door, that could have been a much better round. Because then again, you're making that space, you're forcing away Homeland, and you already found some of those kills in the late round as well to get that advantage at one point. So it would just be the alibi by the half wall, and I think another guy over near like the double door that connects both sites. So you could definitely deny both those positions with those Ying Candelas, yet Bucktal, again, it just didn't seem like he was in the right place to do that. So unfortunately, it didn't work at all for X13, and Homeland have now won, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 rounds in a row at this point, and they're looking to maybe... Yeah, they might make it 5. Hitman was quite literally one click of a mouse away from killing that Melusi as well. Really unfortunate there, as Hitman has been pretty good at scoring those opening gunfights from time to time, especially on at least normally the Melusi players. There's someone who's been rather aggressive in the early round, but just not able to react in time. Homeland can fall away from that position and still have a lot of the map to work with on another lab defense.
Well, just a lot of this initial pressure coming out from Homeland is just making X13 have to kind of stall out a bit. They're having to really focus on making sure that they can clear out these positions. And Zez already getting the first kill onto Bucktal, just missed out on Jake Shicey's head. But a lot of gunfights actually going down over by Throne at the moment. But again, just really X13 just getting stalled out over on this initial clear over by Maintenance.
No real advantage found just yet for either side. X13 looking to deploy out some of these grenades to force away that roam extension. Still a lot of time as well to force away some of those roamers still playing up on that top floor. If Hitman can be in a position to, once again get back to Cafe like we saw last time the site was in play, a lot of vertical can go down, and that would force more of those extensions to be used up by Homeland. But once again, X13, they're already starting from that maintenance side of the map, so that really would limit what options Homeland have to stop this execute from really thriving. There's a grenade tossed out by the feet of Racky, but he's able to evade it and nets the kill onto Jake as he still has his second grenade in his hand, priming it to throw at the guy playing over towards Barrel. Bless is there to at least find a trade onto Snipey, but Racky is still tucked in Barrel, just forcing the hand of X13, making sure they're going to have to work every single muscle to find this kill, and they've got no clue the alibi is still there. 3 for Racky line up for him as they cannot react in time, and he gets out of dodge. Back to the bomb site for the alibi as they've got case control, and they know the last player's up by the hatch. It seems like there's nothing left that X13 can do to salvage this game unless Bless goes huge in a 1 versus 3. He's got such little time, such little resources. It would be a miracle play to be found by Bless if he were to take this round as a win rather than the other way around, and it just will not happen. Racky with a quadra kill to his name, doing so well in that Barrel position, and X13 sent home with the defeat today.
Well, 5 rounds in a row for the side of Homeland on their just basically a defensive sweep. Just really showcasing why they're so comfortable on this map. They know this like the back of their hand. And just X13, just a mixture of just not really clearing out the roamers properly, not really utilizing all their utilities super well, just kind of leads to Homeland just being able to kind of do whatever they want. They're not really playing off each other very well, and they're not just capitalizing off info they get. So unfortunately, just kind of just, again, clean sweep for Homeland essentially when we switch over to our defense.
Just some better late round utility, or more specifically the info there for X13 might have been the remedy to actually make sure they kill the alibi. They just assumed that they would have fallen back at that point. They had a guy getting ready to, set up on the hatch. They've got more than one person still over by Throne despite having someone die. That was Jake, I believe, with their grenade in their hand. So all things considered, they're like, okay, if there is somebody here, we're going to kill them. So by now they'd probably fall back into 3v3, right? No. Racky is not going to just give up that map control for free. He's still going to take some gunfights. He's still going to play as ratty as ever, and it works like a charm. If you had maybe someone, I don't know, like the Jackal, for example, that could have been a really good way to help facilitate clearing out some of those roamers. As it did seem like throughout the entirety of that second half, X13 were a very slow team when it came to forcing away those roamers, and Jackal is like a perfect operator to shut that down, especially on a map like Theme Park that's very soft destructible. So not only can he get info on the roamers at a good time for free almost in some points, but also he can double down with vertical as well in case your sledge dies, for example, which didn't happen a lot off the rip, but there were a lot of positions where the sledge could really do his job on the vertical. He was still dying at some point and just not able to create a lot of pressure with either those grenades or just his sledgehammer.
I mean, just again, just maybe a little bit differently in their operator usage and just general utility. Unfortunately, that's just not going to really spell out in a win for them because of the fact their lack of adaptability. So just unfortunately, Homeland won that pretty easily, but we are going to go to a quick break before we get into round number 3. Don't go anywhere.
On a double